Frank Martin, he goes and he does an interview where he actually alludes to the sparring session with Gervonta Davis, and he says actually he wasn't the one that was hurt. He hurt Gervonta Davis in the sparring session. And of course, Tank jumps on Twitter. It's like, yo, don't make me leak the footage. But Frank was like, all right, if you leak it, make sure it's not edited like that Devin Haney footage we saw. So what do you think about the back and forth with Frank and Gervonta with not even a fight date announced yet?
I'm not gonna lie. I like Frank Martin's energy. You know, at least as a fan of boxing and just as an outside viewer, he strikes me as someone that's quiet most of the time, right? A man of very few words, but when he do talk, it seems like he's intentional in what he says. I wouldn't say that Frank Martin is lying in that situation. I think it's probably very unlikely. What I think is just from the information that I've gotten from the rumors, everyone says at least that spoke on the sparring session. There's a video also right after the sparring session happened where Frank Martin is actually interviewed.
Yeah,
I think it's a fight hype.
Fight hype. Yeah.
Okay.
Sean Zytel was interviewing him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he was just talking about it, and even the interviewer attested that it was a great sparring session.
Yeah.
So it seems like it was a good back and forth between the two. And I wouldn't say, Frank is lying when he says that he hurt Tank, right? It's not like every fight is invincible, right? Or maybe he just misjudged the situation, because saying you hurt someone is relative, right? Someone being out on their feet versus someone just, oh, let me get my shit together and let me just kind of recover before I kind of just start throwing punches. I think it's a fair game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like the fact that he told Tank, yeah, if you want to leak the footage, make sure you leak everything, right? The whole sparring session,
Yeah.
So
No, 1,000%, because a lot of great Allen Iverson, we talking about sparring, which is like practice. You know what I'm saying? We talking about sparring.
right,
So even if you hurt someone in sparring, it has nothing to do with how the real fight's gonna go. But I feel
right.
him just, talking on the situation because Gervonta likes to talk crazy, of course, right? So it's like, all right,
Right.
I'm gonna talk to, I'm gonna stand up for myself, because I remember that post sparring interview, and it was like, yo, that was some good work. He's like, yeah, that was some good work. He's like, yo, is he the biggest puncher you ever been in there with? He's like, nah, he got good pop, but nah, he was like probably second. And I think he named another guy, which leads me to believe he probably didn't get hit with that clean shot or
Yeah.
just maybe, Gervonta's not the hardest puncher in the world, you know what I'm saying? So legit, maybe he's just not the hardest puncher he's been in there with, or maybe he didn't land that big shot for Frank to say, okay, there's that power everybody's talking about,
Right.
but Frank looked real chill. He looked real confident in himself, like, yo, yeah, we just got it in. But like I said, it's sparring. It doesn't really impact the trajectory of the fight, right? Unless you just,
And
some
when was this,
takeaways.
right? This was years ago, right?
Yeah, this was years ago. Some takeaways, you might have noticed some tendencies or something like that. But now when Gervonta is like, yo, you're gonna have your people jumping up and screaming and crying, I guess alluding to, I'm gonna hurt you, and they're gonna be crying for you. But I don't think Frank is gonna back down for the war of words, you know what I'm saying? And then a lot of Gervonta's fights, and this is one of the knock on him, is he fight a lot of like Hispanic fighters, Mexican, Dominican, but a lot of them where their English may not be first language, or their English is not that good, right? So I
Right.
think some of his opponents, other than like Ryan Garcia, Rolly, they haven't really been able to like speak up for themselves and engage in the banter, right? So I think Frank is here for all of that. It's like whatever you say, I got something to say back to you, and like I'm not ducking no smoke. I'm not scared. We about to have this fight and get it on. So do you expect this to be a good fight, or do you think we'll be a little bit let down by this fight?
Both scenarios I can see both scenarios happening just based off of Frank Martin's style. Frank Martin is like an explosive fighter who has a good sense of defense. He's also explosive as well, and he has some pop. Now, I do think Tank Davis clearly is the superior fighter in terms of experience when it comes to his experience, and I do think he's more of the explosive fighter compared to the two. But I do think it's going to be competitive, but I also think that, Tank Davis is ultimately going to probably catch Frank Martin slipping and may potentially stop him. But I do think within the first 6 rounds is definitely going to be competitive. And I'm more curious to see how Tank is going to perform against another southpaw that is somewhat slick and that can still kind of crack enough where, you know, his power is still respectable. So I think
Yeah.
ultimately there's going to be a competitive fight until Tank get him out of there.
Okay. I'm looking for a good fight as well. I can't really decide right now how I think it's going to end. Yes, I would lean towards Gervonta Davis, but Frank, you know, he has some movement, he has some pop, you know, so
Yeah.
he can stay real tight with his defense, you know, his rolls. So there's a lot of things that he can do to, you know, prolong this fight. I'm not saying like, not to say it sound like I'm saying prolong the inevitable, but like you said, I think the first 6 rounds will be competitive, but I think he you know, like I said, he's called a ghost, right? So he's hit and not be hit. And I think if you can not admire your work or stand in there and want to trade with Gervonta, then the fight can go on. You know what I mean? But
Right.
Gervonta is excellent at setting up traps, but I think Frank won't be as sloppy as per se like a Rolly Romero or something like that, or even a Ryan Garcia, where it's like, okay, I landed a big punch or I landed a clean punch, so let me keep throwing the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm expecting a good fight. I have to do some analysis to how I think the fight will end, but I'm expecting a good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Agree.
Okay. Well, you know, jump in the comment section. What do you think about the banter? Is it entertaining? The war of words. Of course, Gervonta always, you know, he starts threatening people. Remember when I forgot who it was. He was like, "Yo, you don't want to see me at your front door." And I'm like, "Come on, bro. You guys are gonna fight in the ring." But I think it's entertaining. I definitely want to hear in the comment section. Are you guys entertained, or you guys don't really care? You just want to see the fight, or or you're at the point where you don't even care until Gervonta fights one of the guys you really want Gervonta to fight. So jump in the comment section. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. 2 cents short of $1. We here.